Alright, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit more flare stuff. Seems like lots of people are very interested in the process of flares. So step one, we always like to build it around the actual tires and wheels that we want to use. So we've got the actual tire and wheel that the guy is wanting to run on this car, and what we're working on first is we're going to keep laying out lines and trimming out the original quarter panel and inner wheelhouse until we get the right amount of clearance for the suspension travel, because the last thing you want is once you get your flares on and the actual wheels on, that you go hit a bump, tire comes up, hits the original quarter panel, cuts a gigantic gash in it, and the whole job's ruined. So step one is always get all this trim work done, all the panels on. So I'll put some tape on here and we'll do some cutting. Alright, so you can see this tire way bigger than the stock one, and the car is sitting lower, so we got tons of interference all in here. Because this is a race car, I've kind of got an idea where I kind of like to vent the bumper area behind the tire to just make sure we get the tire wake out from the back. And because of the kind of the angular body lines of this car, I've kind of got an idea where I'd almost like to have like a flare in the front and then have it taper back, and then maybe make the quarter panel go a little bit lower and then have kind of a cove in here. So because it's kind of hard for people to visualize what you're talking about when you describe something like fender flares with just words, what I'm going to do is take a picture of this with the iPad and sketch up kind of what I'm thinking, and then send it over and see what he thinks. And then if he likes it, it'll also be a good tool for the guys to use when it comes time to build it. Because once I draw it out, we'll have a really good idea of what the different parts will be required to put it all together and what processes we'll use to make it happen. All right. Raining. So Scotty's coming tonight. Alright, so I've got an app that allows me to just kind of pull in a photo and then I can draw on it. So there's a bunch of different ones you can use. The one I typically use is called Concepts. So I'll just kind of start fiddling around with the lines. Colors. It looks just kind of close to the car here. Find one. It's funny, white never looks like white. It's always some weird gray. So I'm gonna kind of start just drawing in the wheel arch here. So to start with, I'll just kind of fill in the area just so I got something to work with. Get rid of all the weirdness. Now I might mess around here with the fender cut, or the quarter cut. I may go ahead and put the quarter cut kind of here. This is very Bob Rossi because there's not really any big rule. I'm just going to kind of fiddle with it and see if I like it or not. kind of thinking the bottom of this bumper is not going to end up there by the time this thing's all said and done. So we'll kind of step this in. Let me switch this. I'm not really going to try and do illustration here and make this like a perfect illustration and photorealistic. That's not the intent. I'm just trying to kind of show the shapes and the idea so that the customer kind of has a good idea of what our intent is. Alright, so I played around with this a little bit. I think this is the one I like the best. It's just kind of a traditional style flare, and then the bumper is tucked, to allow a little bit of venting from the tire. Eventually this car is going to end up with a diffuser, so we're going to want to try and get some of that air away from the car. So this will kind of deflect the tire wash a little bit out the side is the goal, and keep from spoiling the air in the diffuser. I did one other drawing that I sent over where we kind of like blend the lines of the flare back into the corner of the bumper, which I think looks kind of cool as well, but I think I just am feeling the other one a little bit more. So we'll send these over to Billy and see what he thinks, because at the end of the day, it's his car, so he needs to be happy with it. So this is kind of a good exercise to go through before we're building anything, is just kind of go, okay, what are our options? Let's sketch it out. You know, like right here, I'm seeing, okay, well, I'm gonna have to have like a little bit of a break there so that the bumper can kind of sit behind the flare. You know, a few other details that we can kind of think through in this phase, so that when we go to start building, we don't run into as many problems that are surprises to us. So eliminates some surprises and gives the customer the idea of what it's going to look like when it's all done, and they're not just taking a leap of faith.